This is Sharon Massey, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator at sidebyside.com. I wanted to show you how to make this card. It was inspired by a video that I saw by Linda Bettinger, and it's just gave me an idea to do this one. It's not like hers, but certainly her card inspired this card. So I'd like to go over it. There are a lot of little pieces, so I'm not going to give you all the measurements at first. I will try to remember to do that as we go along. So what's nice about this, I called it a double-hinged card because it opens this way to reveal this sentiment from our home to yours, and then it flips up again to reveal the inside sentiment, and there's plenty of room to write a note and sign your name. And so it's kind of a fun card. I did it at my card class, taught it, and the ladies enjoyed it, so I thought maybe y'all might. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of real red that measures 5.5 by 4 1/4, and we're going to take a shaded spruce. I almost forgot the name, but I got it. And the shaded spruce measures 5 1/4 by 4, and we're just going to layer that on top, try to center it, and then just layer it right on top, and then we're just going to set it aside because that's going to be the base of our card. So we'll set that aside for now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in this piece of real red, and this measures 10 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to pull my Stamparatus over because we are going to be using this stamp set. It is a great Claremont one. It is Buffalo Check. Great background stamp. But I wanted to give you a little tip on how to stamp when you're using it, especially when you're using the Stamparatus. When you're using this stamp, what you need to realize, and I'm going to pull it over where I hope you can see it, there is a border where it doesn't stamp. So when you're planning where your paper needs to go, you need to allow for 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, maybe 1/8, but certainly I would allow 1/4 just to be on the safe side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece, and first of all, I'm going to line up my stamp. I'm going to remove these magnets. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to line it up so that the edge of it, the very edge, is at 1 inch from the right hand side and then 1 inch from the top. And I may be off a little bit because I can't get right over it with the camera in the way. So, but that's what I'm trying for, 1 inch by 1 inch. And that's where I want to pick it up. Now that should help me align it so that it's pretty straight. And I'm going to go in and press down really good and pick it up. Now the trick to this is when you're putting your paper in, you know that it's 1 inch by 1 inch, but what you want to do is come down 1/4 and in 1/4. So you're going to be moving it over 1/4 of an inch here and down 1/4 of an inch here. And you'll be placing your magnet down at the very bottom. Then you're going to ink up your background stamp. I'm going to use some black memento. This one got used a lot. The ladies were rubbing it, and so this one got really frayed. I mean, this one's a little bit better. It's still frayed too, but we'll see. If you take these felt stamp sets and you just rub like that, it does cause the felt to get frayed, and then you get little bitty pieces of the felt itself, and you really don't want that. So I'll be reordering some of these in the future. What I found when I inked this up is that I actually needed to do it a couple of times to get it just the way I wanted it. So don't feel badly if the first time you stamp it, it's not exactly where you want it. So another thing that I noticed, I need to get this upper corner just in case. I noticed that when the ladies were doing it, part of the problem wasn't that they didn't have it inked. It was they weren't putting pressure. Now I'm praying that I put that right where it's going to stamp all the way across. If you don't do this, you'll end up getting just a red strip that's not stamped at all. So let's see what happens here. We'll pull it up. Not good, not too bad. See, it's up here and down here, but it's not good in that I don't have enough ink. So what I'm going to do is re-ink it, and it may take me I've found that I like it best when I ink it about 3 times. And the only thing I'm not liking right now is that I'm getting little pieces of this felt on the stamp itself. So that when I go down, it actually either ends up on here or leaves a mark. So we'll stamp again. I may even stamp a 3rd time. Some of the ladies liked it where it was a little rougher looking and not as well covered. They liked that it looked a little worn. So just be sure you press it really good. And see, I'm still getting a lot of these, and that is because of that felt. So I'm going to take a wipe, and these wipes are actually part of the problem too. But I'm going to clean this off, and I'm going to try stamping it again and see if I can get some of these other areas in here that aren't stamping right now, because some of that felt is in there. The new sponge cleaner that they have works really well, and had I brought it in here to my filming area, I'd be using it because it would remove all of this, all of the little speckies. So, but since I didn't, we will just continue this way and try not to get as much. So still gonna do it, but that's okay. I'll just order some new pads. And it's my fault because I just didn't give clear instructions when I was giving them to the class. So lesson learned. Okay, I'll try again and see if it does any better. Whatever it is, it's what we're gonna go with. So this is what we're gonna end up with. So I'm gonna take this off right now, and I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Trimmer. And I'm going to, if I can, here we go. Okay, so now all I want to do is I want to score it. So I want to score it at 5. So just place this edge on 5. Make sure that you're cutting, the darker blade is out of the way. And now you're ready to score. So that is that piece, and we will now set that aside. So the next thing you're going to be using is you're going to be using some shaded spruce. And that shaded spruce is going to measure, I think this one measures about 4.5 by 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into one of the dynamic folders, and I wanted to bring the Big Shot in, and I'm just gonna, I know that that is a tight fit, but the reason I wanted to show this to you is that there was some confusion during the class about using it. Now this particular one is what we call a dynamic textured impression embossing folder, and it's much deeper, and this is much thicker than most of them. So when you do that, if you don't spritz your paper's liable to break. So what you do is you take a little spritzer and make sure it's not pointed at your face and hold it, and I'm doing this off camera, but about 12 inches away, just so it's barely damp. And then you put it in your folder, lining up the bottom edge with the black line. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a black line that goes right along here. And that'll help you have straight and even ridges, and they won't be all cattywampus and crooked. So I'm going to put that down. Now, the one thing I want to make sure you understand is that when you're using this thick embossing folder, you are going to use the Big Shot platform. You're going to put this down, and then you're only going to put one of your plates on top and then run it through. And I'm going to run it through. Sorry, this view is so tight, but I really did want you to see that. So now when you pull it out, you get this lovely, deep ridge. So this is really nice. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it really gives a great impression. Let me move the Big Shot. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take some tear tape and we're going to apply it. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to line it up on here rather than measuring. I found this to be just easier. Kind of center it where you want it. You're just eyeballing it right now. And you're going to fold. And the fold goes all the way to the back. So do not fold, don't put this fold on this inside part here. what you're going to do is put it on the very back. So that is what's going to form this tab that goes across. So it's like that. So we're just going to get some tearing tape, and we're just going to put it along here. I'm using tearing tape for two reasons. One is that because of the impressions, and you've got that dimension popping up. So I'm going to put a piece of tearing tape there. And I don't know if I need another piece or not. I think that'll be fine. And then I'm going to remove the backing. I seem to have a little more luck getting it up this way than, excuse me, than with just my fingers. So now I'm actually really ready to put it on. So I'm going to go over to the right side. Remember, go to the back. Kind of center it where you want it. I think we'll go up just a little bit. Maybe to about there. And then this goes back here. Now you're going to take a punch, and I'm using, I believe it is a 1/8 inch punch, and you go in and you make a hole in the end. Let me feed it through here. We'll make it about there. And then we're going to make some little reinforcement areas there. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to again use that punch. This is a strip of paper that's 1 inch wide. And it's about, I don't know, 4.5 inches perhaps. It's a scrap. So I'm going to go in, trying it in the middle and make a hole punch. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to slide down while I've got it. And I'm going to do it again. Now I'm going to bring in a 1/2 inch punch, and I'm going to slide it so that this hole that I punched is close to being in the middle. You might want to do that, because if you don't, these things tend to fly all over the place. And there we go. So now I'm going to bring in my silicone mat, and I'm just going to use some regular old a glue runner. And I'm going to line up these holes and mash that down. Then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing to this side. Whoops, got away from me. Got a flying piece of paper. Okay, get it while I can. And then you line it up again, so that you've got it lined up like this. Now, I was using the Festive Farmhouse twine, but I've used so much of it that I'm out of it right now. But this is some red twine that I had. It's real red. And I just cut 2 pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to thread them in there. If I can catch this one, I want to kind of pull it up so they're kind of even. Makes it a little easier to thread. And I'm just going to put that in there, I think. Maybe not. I never was good at threading needles. Oh, we were starting to get it. I think what I'm going to do is try to maybe poke it through a little bit. Maybe give it some help here. There we go. And now it's coming through the other side. Okay, so now I've got that. At least one of them. Yep, they're both there. And I'm just going to tie it into a knot on this side. Now, whoops, you know, we may go with one for right now, and later when I'll go back and do another one. But for time's sake, I'm not going to take the time to retie that. So we'll do this, and then like I said, later when I'm off the video, I'll actually rethread that other thread through there. And you'll end up with several. The stamp set that I used was the Farmhouse Christmas, and we're going to be using the Wishing You a Season Full of Peace, Wonder, and Love, and it says Merry Christmas. We'll use the truck, and then From Our Home to Yours. So those are the things. And then we're also going to use the Farmhouse Christmas bundle framelits, And these are the ones that I used. And what I've done is I've gone on and pre-cut. So I had a scrap of red that I used to get the bows, and a scrap of green. And that scrap of green probably needs to measure about 2.5 by 1.5. And then a white scrap, just so the truck and this rectangle will fit in it. And I stamped the sentiment before I cut it out with the rectangle, and I stamped and colored the truck before I cut it out. But I just wanted you to see the framelets that I used. So as I said, I've pre-done that. So what I'm going to do is bring in the truck now, and I'm going to put some dimensionals, just pop it up with some dimensionals. These are the regular size dimensionals. They're not the minis. You could use the minis if you wanted to, but I think it would take more of them. And we will put that kind of wherever we want it, I guess. So we'll put it about there. I'm going to go on and get my snips and cut this off for now. Should have brought my ribbon ones in here. And I'll fix that later. Okay, so now I also pre-stamped the inside sentiment, and this is on a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 3/4 by 3.5, and we'll just go on and get the adhesive on the back. And we will open this up, and put this here. Just kind of try to center it. And I'm going to show you something in a minute. Then I'm going to take, this is a little bitty sentiment. This is the From Our Home to Yours. And I'm going to close this and grab this. Remember, this was cut from the framelit. And again, just take some of our adhesive, run it on, and then try to center it. Okay, and that is going to go behind this little arm that swings over like this. So I'll go on and put that down. Now, something I wanted to show you is the little bows, because I put the little bows in there. When I first saw these, I thought, my goodness, how am I ever going to glue on all these little bows that I wanted to put on? And I came up with just a wonderful way of doing it. It's the pick tool that we have. It's got the putty at the end, and then you have different things that you can put on the opposite end. So what you do is, and I'm going to use one that's, you just kind of pick up your, pick it up like this, and then you take your fine tip glue pen and you just put the smallest amount of drop of glue, which we hope will be small. And then we just take that and set it down, pull this back in where you can see it. Okay, so I think I want my bow about here. So I'm just going to set it like that. And then you can open it and add your other bows, because I want to add 2 more bows. So again, go in with my little putty. I want to turn it around. And then the glue. And I actually, interestingly enough, found it rather relaxing to put these on. Sometimes I really get frustrated, and I didn't with these. So that was a very nice thing, not to get frustrated by putting on teeny little bows. And it goes pretty quickly when you're doing it this way. Again, just a tiny drop. Oops. Okay, just didn't pick that up well enough. Try it again. Oh, the drop's already on there. Okay, and so now we're just going to put that one about here. Scooch it over a little bit. Whoops. Stuck to my finger. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is to put some adhesive on the back of this. And I do kind of really try to get a lot on this part right here so it'll stick. And now, if you remember, we had a base. I'm going to pull it back in, excuse my arm, and then set it down on top. Again, making sure you're trying to center the best you can. And now we've got this little card that opens up like this. There's the first hinge, second hinge, and you've got a cute Christmas card. I hope you've enjoyed doing this card. It was a lot of fun for the ladies in the class, and they seem to really like it, so I'm hoping you will too. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to see what the measurements are of the paper that I cut, you can go to www.stampsidebyside.com. If you don't have a demonstrator, I'd love to be yours, and I hope you have a wonderful week. God bless you and take care. Bye-bye.